Anecdotes for success. Level up with truth, meaning, trade-offs, perspective.
All right, Matt, it's the week where you and me kind of just talk. I've got a question for you. I want to know, in your opinion, I've got some thoughts written down. I want to know, in your opinion, what are people waiting for?
What are people waiting for? What are people
And
waiting for?
it could be any aspect of life. Like, what are they waiting for when it comes to working out? What are they waiting for when it's to start a new business, to quit their job, to ask somebody out? You tell me, what are they waiting for?
Boy, that is a good question, isn't it? Because the number of people I can think of who give me the I'll do it when, right? And there's several people popping right in my mind right now that I'll do it when the kids are out of school. We finish remodeling the basement. We when the new year starts, right? If we're talking about working out, some of those kinds of things. It's a super interesting question because one, I think we can all relate, right? I've done it, you've done it, I'm sure everyone's done it, and I hate it because it goes against everything I believe in. It's always action, action, action. If you want to accomplish something, it's going to be, you've got to take action. We're humans, right? So path of least resistance is such a part of us. It's like, well, I could do it tomorrow or New Year's, or I think ultimately what it comes down to, and I love the fact that you just didn't give me any time to think about it. I think ultimately what it comes down to is we're afraid to fail. And what that does to our ego, if people are watching, we don't want to let people down. Ultimately, we don't want to let ourselves down, right? So it's easier not to set the goal. It's easier not to take action. It's easier to come up with, because these are all excuses, right? Why can't I start eating healthier right now? Why does it have to be, Monday, not over the weekend, or working out, or my new business idea, whatever it might be. And I'm talking to Cam, who's been a guest of ours, who now's not a guest anymore. Now he's our friend, which is awesome. I was talking to him last week when he was in town, and one of the things that we talked about at the event, we were talking about doing another event in the future, as you well know. And he said to me, I don't really know how to do this, Matt. He goes, but my idea is, if I don't know how to do something, I just start it and go. And I said, that's exactly my idea too. Like, I know I don't have all the answers, so I just got to go and learn on the way, which was what he was saying. So I think, Paul, ultimately though, we don't want to. We're afraid to fail. We don't want to fail, and all the things that come with that. What do you think?
Well, two things. So I tweeted this morning, so it's probably gospel somewhere by now. Okay.
It's gotta be.
That being positive always provides a chance, even after you fail, right? There's always next time you can learn from it. But being negative and not doing anything guards against risk and loss, especially after you fail, because you can say, I shouldn't have done that anyway. So I think people wait because they're trying to guard against risk and loss. The what ifs supersede the why nots, right?
Yeah.
And go back to Cam for people listening. Cam F. Awesome. We met on Twitter. You actually referred me to him way back in the day. It's one of the people to follow. And then over time, I engaged. We DM'd a little. He had been in the area years ago, and then he Zoomed with Mark classes during COVID. And then about, I don't know, 8 weeks ago, we had the idea. I brought you in to help my class out with it. Let's bring him to the area. Right. And so, with your mentorship, because of all the shows you promote, my class raised over $15,000. We flew Cam in. They negotiated free hotel stay for him. We paid him his services. He helped us out with a deal on that. We brought 8 high schools together and 1,500 students listening to Cam. And it would have been so easy, especially with some of the feedback I was getting from schools. It's too late in the year. You don't have enough time. We haven't done this since COVID. And we just did it, didn't we, Matt? We actually, with your support, we booked him before we had the money to do it.
Yeah, we did. And we at no point were we like, oh, well, this isn't going to work, or because when you're in that mindset of we're going to do it, now it's just a matter of overcoming the obstacles. And you know, you got your students heading in the right direction. They did an awesome job. Cam, of course, was super flexible and, you know, on dates and those kinds of things. Previous relationships you have helped make it easier, but we didn't know. We had no idea. When we booked him, made the commitment, yes, I made some financial, you know, guarantees, like but you also said, you know, I'm sitting here going, well, I don't know how the schools are going to work and are they going to participate? And you're like, we'll figure it out. We'll make it work. We'll figure it out. You know, how easy would it have been, especially like you said, so many people going, wait till next year, you'll have more time. Frankly, I didn't give it a lot of thought until you just brought it up, because this is just how I do everything. I'm not waiting for those naysayers. They're always living behind me. You know what I mean? I'm always hearing, wait for this, wait for that. I stopped listening to that decades ago. And you're bringing it up but it's so true. There are all these people saying, no, you know, great idea, love the idea, but when you hear that but, it's just like red flags all over flying to me. Those are not the people I listen to. The people I like to listen to were you. Nope, we'll make it work. We'll make it work. We'll come up with a date. Well, heck, Paul, the biggest financial sponsor we thought was going to be involved in this ended up not being involved, which I think came to a shock to all of us. That could have been a pull the plug. Remember our first venue that we planned on using? That didn't work out. That could have been a pull the plug, right? I mean, there's some major factors in here that could have been pull the plugs, not the least of which was, how do we bring all these schools together and all these high schoolers together in a short period of time? At no point did either one of us look each other in the eye and go, maybe we shouldn't do it. It was just a matter of, okay, here's a hurdle. How do we get over it? Here's another hurdle. How do we get over it? And it's not because we're special or super smart, as anyone who's been listening to this religiously knows us. It's just such a great lesson of, well, you just keep going, and thanks to you and thanks to your class, you pull off an event that, I mean, an unbelievably productive event in our community that, I mean, Cam was on multiple television stations for interviews. He was on radio stations. He got to speak within our community. He went and visited local businesses to give what he calls his awesome talks, which is a fantastic brand for a guy named Cam F. Awesome. Sponsors or businesses got involved. I mean, what an amazing experience for your students, but what an amazing thing for us as we sit here and kind of revisit it and go, wow, well, what a cool thing to pull off with all these problems that jumped up.
Yeah, it's really cool. And, you know, the best part, the students were getting frustrated at times. I mean, I was too, but I'm supposed to be their leader, so I didn't show it as much. I had a few moments where they had to drag me back up, but they wanted to measure the success of the process based on how many people they think are coming or how receptive everybody is. And I kept reminding them, don't let other people's actions yield your frustration. Like, the success of the event's going to be the fact that we did it. And that's the baseline. Now I get the fact, when we bring them back next year, success can be measured a little differently, because getting here isn't going to be the goal. Building the event's going to be the goal. But we've done it, and it'll build credibility when we go back to schools next year, and we'll have time to pick a different date, maybe a different venue, the same venue, plan different, approach it differently. So if you never did it, we'd be fighting these same barriers next year, thinking it would be a better year to do it, but we'd have the same problems.
Exactly. Let me ask you this, turning the gear on this slightly. What do you think, now that you had a little time to talk to your classes after this? Like, what did they get out of it? What are they saying? Like, what do you see them seeing as the victories here?
Wow. The hardest thing students realize sometimes is why a company or business would sponsor an event. And that's where you helped out tremendously, just getting the ball rolling. That, well, what value are you going to provide? And students want to provide the value based on their experiences. But once we did this, they understood that we were providing a value that the businesses couldn't get anywhere else. And even despite the fact we lost a major sponsor, we still raised more money than we thought we would because they were providing value. The visits, the mentions on social media, the fact that some of the companies were actually working on similar concepts that Cam was talking about. So this was like, wow. And just the fact that, you know, bring a celebrity per se into business and excite the people and create positivity and good energy. So that was the first thing. And then the second thing is, if people don't respond, that's not a no. So that's okay to keep going. If people say no, that's okay too, because now you can just move on to the next person that might say yes. And I just don't, I mean, if I had that, or if you had that when we were 17 or 18, it'd be a superpower, because we figured it out eventually, but they're figuring that out now. I mean, the real quick story, I said, we need to get Cam a hotel room for 3 days. Well, how much is that going to cost? And I said, I don't know. Let's just go to hotels and pitch what we're trying to do and try to get it for free. And they thought I was crazy. Next thing you know, shout out to Courtyard Marriott, 3 free days because they bought into the message. And the kids are like, people do that? And I'm like, all the time. Build a good relationship, create value, and you're going to be surprised how efficient it all can be if everybody's happy. And it has nothing to do with the price value attached to it. It's just everybody feels like they've won. So I'm rambling a little bit, but those were the big messages.
They are, but you just said in one sentence something that every single person needs to hear. Every single person, every adult, every student, everyone. Build a good relationship and provide value. If you do that in life, there is no stopping you. Those words just came right out of your mouth, and that is, it is like almost everything. Build a good relationship and provide value. And it's like you could write that in the biggest letter, put a plane flying and put it in the air. You do those things, and the number of yeses and I want involves and how can I helps and what can I do's that you'll get out of people's mouths will shock you tremendously. But like you said, the students don't know that. They just think, well, this is what I want. And so if you build a relationship and provide value, which will help you build the relationship and keep doing that, you will get so much. And it just turns me, and I was interviewing some people for a job, a business of mine this week, and this is related. So it just reminded me of it. And this was a high school student, and she's a sophomore. And well, the funny part is that she asked the best question I've ever been asked in an interview. And all the interviews I've done, and I've literally done hundreds of them. And this high school student who was super shy, and I'll tell you right now, I didn't give her the job. So she asked the best question I've ever been asked in an interview, but I didn't give her the job. And I can tell you why as well. It had to do with her availability and some of those things. It wasn't her, but she was trying to get a job. And this is an entry-level job. It's perfect for high school kids. And she was super shy. And one of the things, and that came across immediately. And one of the things I asked her is, I said, well, why are you looking for a job? And she said, because I'm very shy and I'm trying to get out of my comfort zone because I know that's the only way I will get over this. And that blew me away. I was like, talk about some a self-assessment and trying to take action around it. That blew me away. I was already like, wow, I'm already in love with your attitude. Like anyone who says that I'm bad at this, whatever this is, or I'm not good enough at this as I want to be. And the only way I can get better at it is to get out of my comfort zone. You're so far ahead of everyone else that good for you. So that already blew me away. So we do the interview, and at the end, I asked her, as I ask everyone, what questions you have for me? And she said to me, now again, this is a 15-year-old. She goes, well, I have one question. I said, what's that? She goes, well, I know why I want the job, because she'd already explained that she's trying to get out of her comfort zone, but she also needs, some spending money, gas money, money to hang out with her friends or whatever they do. And all those regular things, all fine. All the same things you and I probably did. And I would expect from someone this age. She goes, so I know where I want the job. She goes, but what do you, as someone who's an employer, what do you look for? Why do you hire people? And I was like, I just stopped and I said, I've never, ever, ever been asked that question, because I said to her, all I ever get from people who I'm interviewing is what they want from me. They want money. They want me to make sure they don't have to work nights or weekends. They want, right? And I said, you asked the $1 million question. You need to know what I want if you want the job, because I'm the one making the decision. I'm the one deciding whether you're going to come work for me or not. What I want are these things. I want reliability. I want someone with good customer service. I want, but she recognized that she had to provide some sort of value to me as an employer. That's what was going to make the decision on whether I hired or not whether she needs gas money, not whether she's got, wants to buy a new iPhone, not what she wants. As an employer, I don't care about those things. I don't have time to care about those things. What I care about is the value you're going to bring to me as an employer. Now, again, I didn't hire her because of availability issues. And when I called her later, the couple days later, I told her I'd call her. And I called her and I said, look, I'm not going to give you the job, and here's why. But you did two things that absolutely blew me away. One, you told me that you have a problem in a certain area, and your only way out of it is to get uncomfortable. I said, we live in a world right now where people think if they're uncomfortable, it's everyone else's job not to make them uncomfortable. Well, that's nonsense. That's absolute nonsense. She knew that it was her job to fix it by getting uncomfortable. And I don't mean throw you in the deep end of the pool and see if you drown, but she was ready to have to interact with people she's not used to interacting with and get uncomfortable for her growth. I love that. As and the other thing was, she asked the question, what are you looking for as an employer? And I told her, you tell that to any other employer. I said, you will stand out immediately. So anyway, that providing value was what I was getting at with this story. So anyway, it was long.
That's good. And she didn't wait. I mean, it's not the intention she wanted, but you gave her feedback, and if she runs with that, she'll be better off than struggling with you because of her availability. So
she'll get so much out of that, even though this was a no from me. It wasn't her fault. She'll get so much out of it. It was just such a brilliant interview. I was so impressed.
That's awesome. One more thing. We don't want to. We're going to limit how much we talk today, but there's a gentleman I know. Well, I don't know. I follow him online. His name's Tim Urban, and he has a website called Wait But Why. And it's interesting. I love the concepts, but he also did a TED Talk, and it's called Inside the Mind of a Master Procrastinator. And he talks about how, and this resonates great with students, because he talks about people procrastinate and they know there's a deadline, and maybe they pull the all-nighter, or they do it 3 days before, or they focus all in for a day or two and finish it by the deadline, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, I guess if you're doing it, that's okay. I guess it doesn't give you as many chances to start over, or maybe polish it up.
Yeah.
But you do it. He goes, where procrastinators fail, and what they fail to see, I mean, and where they lack perspective, is you'll never start when it comes to something that doesn't have a deadline, which we started our podcast with. I want to lose weight. Oh, I'm going to travel cross country someday. I wish I could go to Europe someday. Oh, I want to start getting better grades. Oh, I'll start a business. If you don't have a deadline to that, then it'll never happen. And then you'll start regretting it, because the deadline's time, which we don't know how much we have. So super efficient people, the procrastination concept's okay, but the biggest chink in your armor, your kryptonite, is anything you want to try to do that doesn't have a deadline. So, I mean, whether it's simple as a bucket list or an affirmation every day that I will start a business by June 28th, something you have to set it up in your mind that it's a non-negotiable, because that's where procrastinators go wrong, and that's why people don't start.
That's great. So what was his solution to that? Is you have to set deadlines for yourself?
Yes.
Okay.
You know, and if you, it's about a 15-minute YouTube video, Inside the Mind of a Master Procrastinator, and he delivers it real well. He pretends to draw an MRI of a procrastinator's brain and then a non-procrastinator's brain, and he uses something called the instant gratification monkey and the panic monster, and you know, it's really good. But at the end of the day, the biggest ticket items that bring us the most happiness and gratification in life don't have deadlines.
That's
true. So if you don't create those artificially, whatever way you want to, right? Whether it's to-do lists or calendars or affirmations or morning statements or accountability partners, you have to have something.
So why do you think some people have that inherent deadline in them, or the lack of procrastination? Maybe that's it. Maybe it's just that they don't have this again innate or inherent procrastination. And some people, you think, because I have my opinion. I'm not a procrastinator at all usually, but I had something very traumatic, if you will, happen to me younger in life, and I think that really always gave me a kind of an idea that there's a deadline and it's the ultimate deadline, and therefore I got to get as much done in my life if I want to enjoy it. You think it's like, you think you're born that way? You think it's environment? You know what I mean?
I mean, in my non-expert opinion, I think it's, if you can survive some sort of event where it's traumatic, or you hit rock bottom, or you feel you've been given a second chance, I think that's when you go. I mean, I remember my wife having cancer, and almost not making it at the time has given me a perspective that's second to none for the last 20 plus years. My dad passing away, that's another one to realize your time's limited on this planet, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And then the third one for me was COVID. I mean, we talk about it all the time off camera, all the things I've accomplished since this pandemic started, where so many people are just the same place, but just complain more because life's worse off. And that was the concept behind bringing Cam in. Pre-COVID, I probably would have fallen into, we'll do it next year. We'll do it that. Well, let's just go for it and have fun. So those experiences, kind of, each one springboards me a little more than the next.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think that you kind of hit it for a lot of us, and I fall into some of those categories as well. Some things that just make you go, there's not always tomorrow. There's not always tomorrow. And those things, as negative as they were at the time, really can help you realize that, my God, there is going to come a day where you are not going to be able to do these things. So, but the COVID thing, I think really separated people's mindsets in so many ways from, and you're just the best example I personally know of I got this opportunity, boom, I'm taking it, versus what's on Netflix, pour me another glass of wine. These two totally different perspectives of how people acted in it. And if all the excuses, I know we've hit on this before a little bit of, if only I had more free time, if only, and you were given, not you, not me, I mean, all of us in some way were given this kind of, okay, we've got this virus that's killing people. We don't know, what to do about it. And I got more free time than ever. So it should have been like, holy cow, any of us could go at any moment. And I don't have to go into work like I used to. It should have been a springboard, right? But so many people, most people, it was the opposite. It's just so strange. That kind of leads us back to the beginning question you asked, procrastination and that kind of thing.
And that's what we'll end with here. So at the end of the day, fear is a big driver, and it's like a fight or flight thing. In my opinion, it drives you one of two ways, right? It springboards you to say, hey, I'm going to take action and go for it. And I don't care what people think, because if I don't reach my goal, I'll redefine it or pivot, which everybody says, and I'm just going to keep taking action, and it'll compound eventually.
Yep.
The other side of fear is people say, I don't want to do that because I might fail. And what will people think? And they'll be on my social media timelines criticizing me and saying, I told you so. But if you keep going for it, you won't even recognize where you're going to be. But for some reason, people wait for the perfect opportunity, and there's never a perfect
There's
opportunity.
never, and that's the vast majority of people. I mean, the percentages are so high over on that end that if one thing we can get across, hopefully to people, is the people on the other end are no different from you, other than they just didn't do that. They took action, and those are the people who have great accomplishments and tend to do great things. But they're no different from you, other than the action step. I mean, there's not special. They're just doing. They're just doing. They're taking from here and going, I'm not going to be here. I'm willing to take the chances and put in the effort. And those are the people that end up over here. And there's no other innate. They don't have higher IQs. They don't only sleep 2 hours a day and work the rest of the time. They're not different from most people. But this is where most of them are, over here on this other but you can be over here, I guess, is all I'm saying. You can be the one that does it in actions, the way that gets you there. So I'll shut up at that point.
No. I mean, think about it. So create an artificial timeline of a year and be curious, put in a lot of effort and take action, and you'll look back and say, wow, I'm glad I did it. So,
Great way,
hey,
man.
till next time, Matt.
All right.
See ya.